Holy Lord. Got to press the right buttons if you want to get off to the right start, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Player's Edge. Tonight, you see, we got the normal crew, and we have a Twitter sensation at Horse Racing Twitter, Eddie C. Eddie, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing good, Rich. Appreciate the invite. I don't know if Twitter sensation is the right word. It could even have a negative connotation to it, but appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, in this Twitter world, you don't know, right? It's one of those things that could be good or bad, double-edged sword. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Eddie, for those of you who are unfamiliar with you. You're part of the Past the Wire coaching tree, as they say, right?
Yeah, Jonathan Stetton gave me an opportunity a while back, and very grateful for it. And he, wrote some articles, did some podcasts with them. Basically, I grew up in Maryland, moved to Florida 25 years ago, and I had been, I'd really liked horse racing before, fell in love with horses as a young kid. And once I moved to Florida, really got involved in horse racing, met some owners back then, and got a taste of that, and was taught handicapping by an old Australian bookmaker, and taught me about bloodlines and other things. And it's kind of set my platform for what I've been doing especially for the last 5-10 years.
So do you, is like the cornerstone to your handicapping? Is it pedigree, or what did the Australian guy teach you that the rest of us can use that we probably don't use?
Well, pedigree, I always look at pedigree. At any race I look at, I'm always looking at pedigree. I even keep a notebook on certain sires and down the line, so I don't forget who they are. Like, for example, Deputy Minister, I keep track of all his babies that are connected to him, and it's an incredible line because it's got Curlin, Awesome Again, Ghost Sapper, Dahir. So I keep track of their babies as well. And, I look at pedigree. It's not the number one thing, but for me, I mean, he taught me you got to watch replays, and when you're at the track, watch the gallop outs. So those are the two things that he ingrained in me.
It's funny that you bring up the gallop outs, because Sean asked a question on Twitter the other day, which was the subject of a Past the Wire, Gate to Wire podcast, where they talked about the most underrated and overrated, and they talked about the gallop out, and they talked about weight. So I haven't paid much attention to the gallop out. Terry, how about you?
Yeah, I watch it because I think it's very important just to watch how they finish the race, and if they, how they come out of it at the end, they're gallop out. So yeah.
All right. So as far as you're concerned, Eddie C., what should we be looking at the gallop out?
Well, Jonathan Stetton brought up a really good point today. Is if you're watching on TV, sometimes you don't get to see the gallop out, especially the winner or the horses that it's closing, because they're showing the finishing results of the other placings of the horses. But, when you watch the gallop out after a race, the horse that wins, you always want to see that horse like pin its ears back and not let the horse that was closing in on them pass him. Then you know that horse, even though he gave it his all, he's still fighting. He's still competing. And that's a great sign. But I'm fortunate to where I'm able to go to either Gulfstream, or when I'm up at Saratoga, and I go there in the mornings and I watch the workouts. So I keep learning more and more about gallop outs. I sit at Clocker's Corner. I listen to the guys. I ask questions. So I continually am still learning and watching. But I look more for a horse that wants to keep fighting, wants to keep racing, versus a horse that just goes out 5-10 lengths past everybody.
Mm-hmm. No, that's understandable. A horse that's got some competitive spirit like our man Swiss Army Sean. How are you tonight, Sean?
I'm good. And hi, Eddie. I'm glad to meet you. Glad to talk to you before we came on. Glad to talk to you here. So you bring up workouts. How overrated or underrated are the workouts on the paper? Just the times listed.
I mean, if you just go by the times, I mean, I use a barometer on certain times. Like, if I see a 4 furlong work, I'm looking at, I'll go 48-2. If I see something higher than that, I'm not a big fan of it. regardless of where the track is. 5 furlongs, I don't, I'll look at a minute and change. I don't want to see 101, 102 all that much, unless what I really like in workouts is I love seeing a really strong work, maybe even a bullet work at 2 works before the race, and the following work is just kind of like a tightener, a freshener. I don't care what that time is. That is an angle that I play quite a bit, because I know that the trainer in my mind has that horse ready, primed him, got a bullet out of him, and now he's just taking him out there for a little run around just to keep him tight.
What about, I know I want to get better at it and I still haven't figured it out. What about the visual look of a horse on race day?
Looking at a horse on race day?
Yeah, like in the paddock. You get anything from that?
First thing I look at is the skin. If I see a bright shine on the skin, and if I see a horse on its toes, that means I think that horse is ready. Like, I'll go to an example when Flower Alley won the, I think it was the Whitney way back when. That horse was jumping out of the skin in the paddock, and and obviously, I mean, being fortunate to be able to get in the paddock and see the horses up close really does help, because in most tracks you can sit on the rail and see them, but when you're inside, you get to really see them, and and sometimes hear something too. But visually, I always look at the horses and make sure that their gait looks good, make sure that I don't see a conformity issue. But again, I'm still learning that aspect of it too. I'm no vet, I'm no trainer, so I'm still learning that aspect.
Tom, what about you? What are you learning?
What am I learning? Well, I have a question for Eddie. You've got a turf horse. It's working on the dirt. What are you looking for in the works for that, especially when it's coming back off a layoff? Or do you really want to see it working on the turf?
I mean, obviously it's better to see him working on the turf, I think, but what I like seeing, and again, this was something that was taught to me from my friend, I'd like to see consistent quarter times. I don't want to see like 22 and change and then see 24. I'd rather see like 23 and change, 23 and change, 23 and change. I want to see consistency, because one of the things he also taught me, what makes a good turf horse is, if you ever watched a really good turf horse, when they turn for home and they're making a run, you literally can see them lower their body just a little bit. Like, you see them drop down a couple of inches, and that's when they're just grabbing on that turf and taking off. And for me, that comes from seeing consistent works in time wise.
So the other issue that they were talking about today from Sean was weight. What do you think about weight? Do you think that 7 pounds, 8 pounds, is there a number? I'm not so convinced that I could outrun Sean. I could outrun Sean in a mile, whether I was carrying 10 pounds or 20 pounds. So I don't think it matters, at least for me.
Well, when you're going a route of race, and I said this when you guys posted the questions, and by the way, great questions. It created a tremendous amount of conversation within Twitter. I think it brought in a bunch of people, and hopefully it brought more people to what you guys are doing here, because I think it's great. But when you go a route of race of 1 mile and a 16th, 1 mile and an 1/8 or longer, weight matters. And I know Jonathan said 7, 8 pounds. That's kind of where the breaking point is, maybe even 6. But I'll go to 3 pounds, especially when you got horses of equal ability. And, if you get somebody loose on a lead and he or she has a 3 pound advantage over somebody that's closing, that's a lot. It's a lot. And I equate it. I used to be a wrestler when I was younger, and I'll never forget one time I was wrestling at 119 and our 126 guy got injured, and I had to go up to 126, and it was an unbelievable difference. I couldn't get the guy off me. He was controlling me with just that little 6-7 pound difference. So weight does make a difference, much more so in route racing, and maybe not so much so in sprint racing.
What do you say, Terry?
Yeah, I agree with that. As you know, Mike.
Do you ever disagree with the guests, Terry?
Oh, yeah, sometimes, but I agree with the weight thing, because as you know, I have it in my Excel spreadsheet, and I questioned you about, well, why can't we get it through the data? So I put it in there manually every day, and I always thought that 3 pounds or more, especially like he says in a route, was really, really important, especially if the horse that's a horse that goes to the front and is leading. I think it's great. So,
What do you say, Sean?
Well, I would say
Are
the
you going to
answer
say
is-
I agree 3 pounds, especially in routes, right? No.
No, I don't know if it's 3. It might be 5, but whatever it is, I mean, look at all the apprentice jockeys that do well, and then when they lose their weight, they're not doing as well. So, I mean, you can't say weight doesn't matter if you can see clearly the difference with a jockey when they have the weight break and they don't have, and then when they don't have the weight break.
I think that's a valid point. And you say what, Thomas?
Well, I go with my rule of thumb of 5 pounds is half a length. And I stick with that. And if I've got a front runner and if that needs that half a length to win, I look at the weights. And if it's a speed horse in the front, whether it's on dirt or all weather, I think it makes a big difference.
So, Sean, was this the overrated or underrated question that that got these answers?
I think it was the most overrated.
Most
is what
overrated.
Which started it. Underrated came second. Still got a lot of replies, but not as much. But the overrated is what started the weight. Because there were a couple people that absolutely said weight didn't matter at all.
So what do you think is the most overrated angle, Eddie?
The most overrated angle?
Mm-hmm.
I replied to that. Now I'm trying to remember what I said.
I couldn't keep up with all the replies.
You know what? You have to, Terry, you have to take your headphones out. All right. Now, what's the most overrated angle?
I don't know. I forget what I said, but last out winners to me is kind of a bit overrated. Actually, I know what I said. I said just looking strictly at speed figures, because I equated it. I believe I said this. I remember Bellamy Road back in, I want to say 2005, won the Wood and got a 120 buyer speed figure on it. And I said this horse could bounce to the moon and still win the Derby. And it bounced to the moon and it didn't come close to winning the Derby. I think it ran 4th or 5th, and a Fleet Alex that year could have maybe, I think it was a Fleet Alex came second to, was that when that bomb won?
Yeah.
Giacomo.
Yes.
Giacomo.
When they made the guy
Ken
on
Rudolph.
TVG famous, Ken Rudolph famous.
Yeah,
yes.
Ken Rudolph. Well, Ken's still living off that, and I hope he hears this, but I love the guy, but he's still living off of that job.
Where do you think, Terry, is the most overrated? And you can't say speed figures. You got to come up with your own.
Are you sure I can't say that?
Well, you can
No,
if you want to. If that's
no,
genuinely how you feel, then fire away.
I think that the average cost per race earned is pretty overrated. I don't think that is a big thing. Sometimes yes, but most of the time I don't think it really matters that much, because a lot of times you can have a horse that's only ran 3 times, and the others have ran 10, and the ones ran 3 times has won 2 of those, and the amount of race per average is way higher than the others. So,
How about you, Sean? What do you tag as the most overrated?
This is it's class, but it's not all class. It's the class when people say a horse that finished 8th or 9th, they get bet because they faced.
There's a fighting words with Thomas.
They faced these certain horses. Well, it doesn't matter. They were in the race, but they were never competitive. If you're not competitive in the race, it doesn't matter what race you ran at all. So I would say something like that when a horse finishes, second to last and they're getting bet just because they lost to really good horses.
And how about you, Thomas, before we head off to our picks, so we can put all this newfound knowledge to work?
Mine is off tracks winning by big margins. And then they go on a fast track. I a lot of times I either ignore it or just toss it out. You see a horse on a sloppy track win by 10 lengths and then comes back and can't come close to anything. I've seen more horses do that, and I'm like, on a fast track, I've got to look at it more seriously. On a sloppy track or a muddy track, I'm going to ignore it and move on.
Well, I think Hidden Scroll proves that point pretty well right there, Tom.
Yeah.
For me, I would say that I would say that the highest last race speed figure for me is one that I know it hits at a pretty high rate, from pretty similar to the favorite from what I've been able to read. But I've also noticed that sometimes those horses that run, probably more often than not, the highest last race speed figure, especially if it's outside their normal range, those horses have peaked at that race and are more likely to go the other way than they are to continue up that ladder. So that's one, despite the high win rate, but the highest last race speed figure too is also going to attract a lot of money usually. So those horses, you're rarely going to find value there. And as a result, I think many times they're overbet, don't create any value, and it's a good thing to avoid. So tonight, every one of my picks has the highest last race speed figure. So we're going to do some picks tonight, Eddie. We're going to head on off to Fairgrounds. That's where the biggest races of the weekend are. We're going to start off with race number 10, which is the Munoz Memorial Classic Stakes, presented by Horse Racing Nation. Hopefully, we can get to the point where we're sponsoring races, probably in the year, 2040, Sean? What do you say?
Yeah, hopefully a lot longer, quicker than that.
Longer than that, huh? Yeah, probably
quicker than that.
So this one's a mile and a
Terry and I are
16th
gonna
on
be
the
dead.
turf. You guys will still be around. It'll be me and Sean that are gone up at that time. But so this one's a mile and a 16th on the turf. When you look at this race, what are you looking at from your vantage point there, Eddie?
Well, you've got both the 2 Sacred Life and the 3 Davamini Chad Brown horses, and I think the general public is definitely going to bet them. They're definitely good, hard-knocking horses. They're, I think, one is 7 and the other one's 8 years old. Good records. I'm going to go out a little bit on this race, and I'm going to pick the 9 horse Santine.
Terry's already laughing because he's agreeing with you.
Yeah, that's why.
I guarantee you it's going to be his first pick.
That is, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, the connections, you got Godolphin. Brandon Walsh is proven to be a very good trainer the last couple of years. But the breeding on this horse, I love. Medaglia d'Oro on the dam sire side. Medaglia d'Oro has proven to be a great turf sire. 49er as well. The horse it doesn't have to close from the clouds. It can rate off the speed, and I think he's going to get the jump on both the 2 and the 3, and because there's enough speed in this race for it to rate and jump on him. And I think it needed its last race, and it did get into a little trouble if you saw the replay in that last race, breaking out of the 11 hole, trying to get out before the turn. So he's got a smaller field, a little more time to get to the turn. So I really like his chances, and I like Tyler staying on the horse. Tyler's a really great young jockey on the up and come. So that's my play on this race.
Just number 9. You going to back it up with anything, or are you just a straight win better?
I'll play it to win, and I'll key it in exactas over top both the 2 and the 3.
9 over the 2 and the 3. Okay, Terry, we know you got the 9 and the 2 and the 3. All right, Sean, what do you got?
Well, I got the 9 too, believe it or not. So this horse hasn't lost a race by more than
What is going on here today?
The horse hasn't lost a race by more than half a length, which was last race. That was after a 3-month layoff. So I think should be ready for a big effort. And there's also like Eddie said, there's a bunch of speed in here that should set this up for this horse. Has been close to winning tougher races than this. The only thing I was concerned about is the post position, but not being a speed horse, I think it'll be all right. Number 3, Devamini, battle tested and will need some pace, which he should get. Has finished in the exact in half of his career races, 14 of 28 and 6 of 8 at the distance. Only raced twice last year and now is 8 years old. That last race, I think you can throw out as it was the first race in 8 months. So another one that should be ready to fire. And then I went 2 Emmys. There's a bunch of speed in here, but if one speed horse is going to carry, it's 2 Emmys. And he usually finishes in the money somewhere. So I'll put him for 3rd.
Usually does finish in the money. Okay, Terry, your turn, my friend. I didn't mean to go out of turn.
That's all right. I like the number 9 Santin. Came in from Delmar after finishing 2nd in a Grade 1 race there on the turf, only beaten a neck, and ran his first race at the fairgrounds. He was the favorite, but ran fourth, beaten a half of length. But the trainer wins though 25% of the time when he brings back the beaten favorite. Then I like number 7, Another Mystery. Has won 2 out of the last 3 races. The last one was a grade 3, and at Sam Houston, and earned the highest last speed rating, which I know people don't think is important, but I do. He is one for one at today's distance. Number 2, Sacred Life, ran 6th after being bumped at Gulfstreams in his last race, and he only lost by 2 1/4 lengths in that race. He has the best turf speed among today's starters. And then I like number 3, Devamini. Likes the turf, finished in the money 69% of the time, winning 23% of those races on the turf. In addition, he likes the distance, where he's been in the money 75% of the races and won 38% of those races.
Thomas, so far we've gone 9-9. Are you going to make it 3 9s in a row?
No. I'm gonna take 3. Denami.
Oh, you got an ice cold exacta for $513, Tom? Where did you do that?
At Prax.
Ah, nice.
Parks. Yeah, that was very nice. I tossed the last. I think he was too wide and far back to have any chance at the distance. I think the 10 post was too much for him to overcome. And he's proven he can win a grade 3 at Monmouth. So why not here? He's lightly raced last year, 2 races, a win and a 4th. That grade 2 win at Belmont sticks out over a yielding course, 1 1/8. Can't complain. I think the big thing here is he's got to race inside. And at the distance, he's got 8 starts, 3 wins, and 3 seconds. So gets Rosario back, and Chad Brown can win a few races.
Yeah, he does.
Number 9, Centene, the Godolphin, Brendan Walsh, Tyler Gaffione connection. Just missed last time out in grade 3. He was on the outside in this race, and he switched leads too late. If you watch the race. A little too late. I think he needed the race. He's lightly raced, only really lightly raced. He finished, just missed in the Hollywood Derby, which is a grade 1. He started out winning a maiden at Belmont, went to an allowance race at Keeneland. Pretty good company in both those races, which was really interesting. I think he's a mid-pack horse. I think he's got to sit mid-pack. And with an 1/8 of a mile left, that's when he's going to be moving forward. And then I'm going to take one of my old favorites who's won me some money in the past.
$513 in the cold exacta?
No, but number 6, Captivating Moon, has won me some nice money, especially at Fairgrounds last year. Last out, he ran the back of the field. He was 4 wide. He got up for 5th. He lost by a length and a half. Well, that's not so bad. He hadn't raced since July. But the thing that stuck out for me with him was he worked a lot faster than he's ever worked, at least from what I could find. A 47-2 breezing and a 48 breezing. And remember, this isn't a dirt horse. This is a grass horse. The only concern I have is he likes a little moisture in the track. And it's supposed to be in the 70s and very nice in New Orleans. So that could be an issue. But there's plenty of speed in this race. And Chris Block knows how to get that old guy to run. And he's done it in the past. I can't see why he can't hit the board in here.
I'm looking at the same race that you and Sean are looking at. And you say there's plenty of speed. And I have to completely disagree with that. I think you got 2 speed horses, and that's it. You got 2 Emmys. That horse is going to get to the front. Peacock Kitten showing some cheap speed at Evangeline Downs. That's not going to carry to the fairgrounds in this race. Sacred Life certainly not going to get to the front. Devonni not going to get to the front. Cavalry Charge, that horse could get to the front, but it's probably more of a stalker, I would think, than it is a front runner. The 5 horse, that one might go for the lead, 40 under. Captivating Moon, not going to happen. Another Mystery, not going to happen. 2 Emmys, yeah. So I think you got 2 speed horses, and then you got one that sits off the pace, and 2 speed horses out of 9 is not a fast field. Maybe
well, your other two that's potential. I mean, you get 3 or 4 up there, you got fast. So you got to think one of the other two will go as well, or 2 Emmys is going to go really fast, which is going to set up the
Well,
fast.
why would
pace.
you think that? That's not what they've done lately.
No.
But and anyway, that's just the way I see it. So I see exactly the opposite. I see really not a lot of speed in this race. They're going to get 2 horses that go out, and maybe they burn each other. Maybe there's a cheap speed with the one goes to that back class over at back speed over at Evangeline Downs, which is not going to hold against this crew, which I think sets the race up perfectly for number 4, Cavalry Charge. It's going to sit right behind those 2 and then just run right by him at the end. Sacred Life is going to be rolling from the back with the best late pace numbers in the field. But I think and I have as many as 5 of them or 6 of them that could be sitting towards the back of the pack. There's going to be traffic back there, so I do worry about that. Santon is, as you guys mentioned, a half a length and a neck away from winning all 4 starts. Horse should be, I think, in the mid pack as well. And then the Diva Money, I hope I got that right, tends to run his best coming off of a break, just like today. So I can't wait to see how these breaks out on Saturday. If it's a fast pace, I'm going to guess it's not going to be a fast pace. 2 Emmys might set a good pace, but that's it. The other 2 will fade off pretty quickly. The next race we're going to cover is the Fairgrounds Oaks. And should we just say that Echo Zulu is going to win this and then just move on? What do you think, Eddie?
No.
All right.
I mean, the only reason I say no is big layoff. No works for a long time as well. A lot of non-information on the horse. I was trying to find out a bunch of information, and I'm not the most connected person, but I know a few people, and I couldn't find out what's going on with this horse for the longest time. Obviously, if Echo Zulu shows up, she walks. They're not going to come close. Hasn't done anything wrong. Is undefeated. 4 for 4. Had a pretty nice work. Its last work back on March 14th. I like that work quite a bit. So I don't think. I mean, impeccably bred, by the way. Gun runners out of the Cany line sire line, which I love that pedigree quite a bit. Out of Menifee on the Dam Sire line. I don't think Asmussen, I should say, the proper way to pronounce it, is using this as a tune-up. I don't know if he wins this, if they're going to go right to the Oaks with it or not. I'd be curious if she wins pretty easy, if they go straight to the Preakness from this race. I don't know. I will give the kiss of death to the number 3 Favor, totally throwing him out. Good connections. I know Pletcher, Stoner Street, but this horse has to improve dramatically to have any impact on the race. I know the 2 horse, Turner Loose, beat the 6 last time out. Both of them coming off a layoff, but the 6, I love the works on the 6 after that race. I've watched the works. I've watched that replay a few times over. If anybody can beat Echo Zulu, it is the 6 and only the 6. But, you know, the only thing I think I can hurt the Echo Zulu is the rail. You know, I mean, if it gets shut off on the rail, or if it doesn't break right away and get to the lead, I don't know how that'll impact her. But she doesn't need the lead. For her very first maiden win, she wasn't on the lead. So, curious race. Probably not going to overthink it. I think Echo Zulu wins for fun.
Yeah. So when you have a horse like Echo Zulu, I know that what Terry likes to do is Terry likes to just backdoor exacta these and hope that something goes wrong and that the heavy favorite finishes second. Do you skip these races in your betting, or do you try to backdoor it, or do you just try to load up on maybe a cold exacta?
No, the only way I'll play this race is I'll play it in multiples, and pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s, something like that. I'm not gonna try to hit an exacta, because you know you spend $20 on an exacta, maybe get $32 back, something like that. I mean, no, I'd rather play maybe single it and go deep in the other races where I think an upset could happen, because the only way this horse doesn't win this race is that she's just not ready, or something bad happens.
Something goes wrong. Yeah, I agree with you. Terry, what do you think? Is there any way Echo Zulu can lose this race?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, this horse has won all 4 of her career races. and at 3 different tracks at 4 different distances, has the best dirt speed among today's starters. Unless there's a problem at the start of the race, I can't imagine this horse losing at all. And you know, she did show that she could come from off the pace in her very first race. So, but I do like as my second pick, Turner Loose comes from Del Mar, and switched from the turf to the dirt and won that race at today's distance. She has a high percentage winning trainer, Brad Cox and jockey Laurent Gros. And then number 4, Berna Breeze, has finished in the money 3 out of 3 starts in her races and at the fairgrounds. And she has a high percentage winning trainer and a good workout, 48.3. And then number 3, Favor, has won 2 races at Gulfstream Park at today's distance. And she does have to show a lot of improvement to do anything here. And on backdooring that exactas, I'd like to say that usually I do that if there's a pretty big field, like 10 or 12 horses.
But you won't do that in a shorter field, huh? So there's absolutely zero way, Tom, outside of ECHO ZULU not running in the money to $513 cold exacta. Would you play? Are you going to play ECHO ZULU?
You're not going to find that in this race.
Well, unless like the 2 longest shots came in, and probably still wouldn't pay that.
Yeah, the thing with ECHO ZULU that I'm always concerned about is the 3-year-old bounce. Is this horse truly a good 3-year-old or not? Mm-hmm. The works indicate to me no, it's not. But I look at that 7 furlong race at Saratoga, and it had issues, and had all at the start. It was pressured and did all kinds of stuff, and still won the race. So yeah, she's going to be the big favorite, and there's no way, in terms of anybody else in here, if she runs her race, she wins. Mm-hmm. 6, Hidden Connections, my next choice. Favorite last, showed some speed but was wide, and then gave way. That one looks like a one that needed a race. Yeah, the Breeders' Cup race, she ran 4th and didn't really start very well in that race, in my opinion. But her other 2 races, she willingly won those races and looked good doing it. So she runs back to her first 2 starts. She's dangerous. Turner Loose is one of those ones, number 2, who really ran a nice race. I mean, it sat off the lead, rallied late, and won the race. Breeders' Cup race, of course, I tossed because, nobody did. She didn't. It was first dirt start. She ran last. And really in the race, nothing went right. Mm-hmm. So if worse comes to worse with her, go throw her back on the turf, and you got a pretty good turf horse. So I think they've got stars in their eyes looking at the Kentucky Oaks, but there's pretty good turf races out there, and let's face it, running on the turf isn't so bad.
Nope, not so bad at all, Sean. It's your chance to pick somebody other than ECHO ZULU. Maybe Blake has something in mind over there. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently Blake.
He's disagreeing with you.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah. No, I'm going ECHO ZULU, unbeaten, and already won 3 Grade 1 races. 4 races, 4 different distances, 5.5, 7 furlongs, a mile 16th. This is the first time she runs that same distance. I see she's gonna have to beat herself, and I don't see it happening. I did go number 3, Favor, for the second. I'm just looking for potential and some price, and maybe the 6 is the only horse that can beat this horse. But if the 6 don't, which I don't think she's going to, then you're going to get something else for second and third. This horse is the most likely race horse in the field. Only 3 career starts. Has won 2 of them. Got really good connections in Gafflin and Pletcher, and should be right off the pace. Turner Loose is who I went for third. Last race was her first race on the dirt, and it came after a 3-month layoff. She won that race. It was a grade 2 in at Fairgrounds, right like this one. So 1-3-2.
1-3-2 for Sean. So I am going to go ahead and make it the kiss of death, where we all go with ECHO ZULU. But Tom, you're right about that. That's the one thing, is that first race out as a 3-year-old sometimes can be a question mark. So that's what we're going to find out, if ECHO ZULU can answer. If she can answer this race, as Eddie said, it's going to be a walk. It's going to be practice. Nobody's been close to her in any of the 4 races. I don't know that if she comes in ready to go, that anybody will be close to her here. I like Turner Loose. She did pass that 3-year-old test last time out at a nice price. The resume says that the horse is likely to improve a little bit next time out. And what I liked about that last race, unlike the other ones where the horse had the pressure or was right up on the lead in one, this last race, it kind of rated and showed that it can not only run from the front, but it can run from the back. So maybe Florent sits right off of Joel Rosario and sees if he's got a little bit more late punch at the end of the race, because Turner Loose showed last time out that that's a possibility. Then for me, it's a toss-up between Burns a Breezy and then Hidden Connection. To me, I do like the fact that Burn a Breezy has 2 wins at the distance. They're both at fairgrounds. So there's the familiarity with the track. There's the familiarity with the distance, and should be coming from the end. And then, of course, Hidden Connection being the 4th pick there, which brings us to the last race of the day, where we're going to ask a very similar question as we asked in this race. Can anybody beat Epicenter? Because this is a pace setup to me that looks like, and I don't know if you agree or disagree with me on this, Eddie, but this is a pace setup. It looks like it's just tailor-made for Epicenter.
Yeah, it's man, it could be a very chalky, not just the 3 races we're looking at, but the last 4 races that are all graded stakes. It could be very chalky off 4. One of the things I like about Epicenter, there's a few horses in this race that have had Lasix prior to it. Epicenter's never had Lasix and has done nothing wrong, basically. Just since I love breeding, just regally bred. Not this time, has proven to be one of the best young sires in the game out of Giants Causeway, and then on the dam side, he's out of Silent Candy, out of Candy Ride. This horse is bred to run forever. It's bred to run on any distance, wet track, fast track, synthetic. I think this horse has a huge future, and I wouldn't be shocked if he ran away and hid. I'm not a big fan of, well, I shouldn't say that. I kind of like the 8, both the 8 and the 9 underneath. The 8, obviously, from its last race, with the trouble that happened in that race with the clipping of heels and horses going down, totally took any chance that horse had in Galt. I like the 9 Rattle and Roll. Really nice work last out. I think maybe he needed the last race. But I know Zoros, a lot of people, the 2 horse, a lot of people are on him and like him as having an upset chance. But I'm not sure the horse wants to go a mile and 3/16. That's a big ask based on the breeding alone. Not based on anything that it's done. It really hasn't done anything really wrong. But yeah, this horse is about Epicenter, and I'll be singling that horse and playing it on top of the 8 and the 9.
Do you think right now, is it your favorite to win the Derby?
Wow. I got a horse I can't say yet, but of all the horses that you know about, yes.
Oh, so there's a quiet one that's yet to come, eh?
I think so, yes.
All right. Has it run already?
It's run, but it has no points yet.
And has 0, and I can't, so 0 points. So it can't be who I think it is. And I can't early voting. Not that one. Oh, maybe I'm onto something. All right. So maybe it's early voting. All right, Thomas, what do you think? Not about the Kentucky Derby, but about Epicenter and its chances here on Saturday.
I picked it for second. I'm going to go with Zulus. 2 for 2, 1 at Fairgrounds, 1 at Oaklawn. My big question with this horse is the pace of the races that it's been in. I think they're a little slow, but also, yeah, who knows? It is Brad Cox. He's placing the horse in a grade 2 for a reason. Get some points and see what he can get in. That work is the 59.3. It looks good for this prep. Mummings has done fine at producing winners, and especially you're paying a stud fee of $85,000. You better get something out of it, right?
That's what they pay me.
Yeah, dam side. I mean, she was a winner. She was nice, but she never won over a mile. One of her offspring did, but not her. And she raced for 5 years. So, I mean, she was a good, hardy horse. And, he may end up as a maiden claimer, a claimer someplace, but who knows? Epicenter, we've already talked about it. He got caught by Call Me Midnight at Fairgrounds in the Grade 3. He was geared down in his last race. He's got some nice works. If he gets pushed, maybe he's got a little problem, but he's been very game, and who knows? I think he's right up there. 5, Kunapunta. It took 3 starts to win a maiden, and then ran second next out. It was wide. It's been wide in a few races, actually, and a little farther back. If it just needs a better trip, is the bottom line with this horse. The breeding says it should be able to do this without any problem. Now it's got to prove it.
All right, Sean, who do you think is going to prove it?
Well, if you and I both say there's only one speed horse in this race, we're definitely right. So Epicenter
is there only one speed horse in this race? I think, Sean, there is only one front runner in this race.
Yes, Epicenter. And if he gets an uncontested lead, this race is pretty much over as soon as the gate opens. The only horse in the field with more than one win at Fairgrounds. There's really not much to dislike here. The only thing would be if there was pace, and there's not. So this horse should win for fun. I went number 9, Rattle and Roll, for second. Was a big disappointment in the Fountain of Youth, but I'll give him a pass since that race was a 5-month layoff. He also didn't get the best trip. I still think this horse is probably the most talented horse in the field besides the favorite. We'll have to overcome the post position and that lack of speed. Third, I went Call Me Midnight. This is the only horse in the field that beat Epicenter. Should be competitive and finishing the exotics here. I just don't see him getting enough pace this time to run. I will say that James Graham is 2 for 2 with this horse, and every other jockey that's been on this horse is 0 for 5. So got James Graham Saturday.
Much like what James has to say. Yeah, he's got the tasty apples. And you, Terry?
Yeah, I agree with Thomas. I like number 2, Zozos. This horse doesn't know how to lose yet, and he won his debut race at the Fairgrounds and won the next race at Oakland Park. And he won that at a mile 16th by 10 lengths. I think the extra distance in today's race would set up very well for him. I like number 6, Epicenter, is my second one. And the reason I'm a little bit doubtful is I don't know if can carry the speed to the mile and 3/16. So he's, as we said, he won the Risen Star, and he's got the best dirt speed among today's starters and a great trainer and jockey. Then I like number 5 is my third pick, Kupuna. Ran second at the Fairgrounds last race and has 2 bullet workouts in a row. And the trainer jockey combination the last 14 days have won been in the money 6 out of 8 races and won 2 of those races. And then number 3, Call Me Midnight, is a deep closer who won his last race at the Fairgrounds at a mile and 16th. And I think he's another horse that may benefit with the extra distance in today's race. He has a good 4-furlong workout. Also, March 19th, he was the second best of 110 workouts.
Well, I look at this race, Sean, the same way you look at it. There's absolutely no early pace in this race. What do you have in this field? 9 horses, and 6 of them want to be in the back, 1 that might pressure, and 2 that'll be up at the front. Epicenter being the lone horse that's shown that it wants to get on the lead. I think you're going to see this race run like this. Epicenter and Pioneer of Medina are going to get to the front, and they're going to run reasonable fractions, and they're going to go around the track 1-2. And then Zosos and Call Me Midnight, they got the most kick out of all those horses in the back, and they'll be competing to see which one can pass Pioneer Midnight for that place money. And that's a Pioneer Medina, and that's if they'll be able to pass Pioneer Medina. If they go out and they run some slow fractions up front and try to really control the tempo, this race, like you said, Sean, can be open when the gates open, and that's that. It'll all depend on the break. So I'm going to go Epicenter over Pioneer of Medina, and then either Zosos or the other horse, because I put my notes away. What was the other one? The other one is Call Me Midnight. Yes, indeed. You're saying, old man brain. I can't remember for 30 seconds. It's just horrible to be like that. In any case, well, thank you. I appreciate that vote of encouragement right there. All righty. So that wraps up our picks for today. if folks want to keep up with you, Eddie C, obviously there's your Twitter feed is It's Me, Eddie C, on Twitter. But is there anywhere else folks can keep up with you and some of the things that you do?
Actually, I do have a second account on Twitter. It's called Notebook Picks by Eddie C. I started that like 5 years ago when I went to Saratoga and stayed the whole meet. And I put picks out on there. I'll be putting out my picks for the fairgrounds on Saturday. I'm actually going to be at Gulfstream, so I might even put Gulfstream's picks out there too as well. But that's the only social media I really have. But hey, before we go, I got to just ask one question. If it's too far off topic, you can shut it down. But Life is Good. Does he walk?
On the Dubai?
Yes.
You know, honestly, I haven't gotten to it yet. Tom and I are going to actually, good segue. Tom and I are going to actually talk about that tomorrow. We have a show tomorrow. You want to join us tomorrow at what time is it? 1 o'clock Eastern. We're going to go over 5 of the races over there on
I could
Dubai.
maybe do that.
All right, so I'll have Sean reach out to you if you can make it. We start at 1 o'clock Eastern, right, Tom?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about 5 races. I don't know which one. Tom always picks them, but
we hadn't quite decided yet. But really, it's a tough card. The only one I know for sure we're not going to handicap is the Arabian race.
Well, we should do that one for fun.
Yeah. That's the one we may win, you know.
I love Arabian races.
The other ones, you know.
It's a shame that Delaware stopped the Arabian races. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. They run them at the fairs here in California.
Lone Star runs them too.
So maybe we could do it for fun. We'll just throw the picks out there. We won't talk about it. We'll just say I like this, and this in the Arabian. That Tom says. No,
hey, Sean, just let me know, and if I can make it at 1 o'clock, I'd definitely love to jump on.
All right, fantastic. So we'll send a link out to you if you can make it. Just like now, we'll send you the link. You'll join in. Tom and I will go through those 5 races and make all of our picks for the Dubai World Cup. Thanks for the segue, by the way. And that wasn't even planned. But Tom and I will be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern, maybe with Eddie C to go over the Dubai World Cup. So you want to make sure you check that out. Terry and I will be back to clean up the other 2 fairgrounds stakes races on. No, scratch that. We're going to do Sunland for Sunday on Saturday with the Sunland Derby, which is another qualifier. So you want to check that out as well. And then that's it for this week. And then Terry and I'll be back with our normal routine, and Sean and I next week for the Horse Center. Sean, who do we got lined up for next week?
So on Monday, we got
All-Star Week, right?
Oh, yeah. Jockey Willie Martinez on Monday. Tuesday, Chantel Sutherland. And then Wednesday, not completely confirmed, but should be the rising star Kylie Jordan, who won first 2 days of Will Rogers meet, won 6 races. And then Thursday, we got trainer Johnny Ortiz talking Oaklawn on next Saturday.
So it'll be fun. We'll bring Chantel on and see what Hornets Nest we can stir up this time. For sure. You're obviously probably familiar with the last time she came on, Eddie, where she came in and mentioned that she talked about letting people there's communication on the track, and people had a heart attack about her talking about the communication on the track.
Yeah, jockeys talk.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Yeah,
well, I think their livelihood depends on it.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, I won't tell it on air, but I'll tell you a story about a couple weeks ago when there was a little incident and jockeys were going, no, no, no. And then one certain jockey didn't listen to anybody and just busted through and created a pretty bad mishap.
And that's why they should communicate.
Of course, they talk all the time.
They should.
Well, I wonder if they talked on yesterday. Did you catch that 3rd race at Gulfstream Park with the Swan and the Flamingo?
I did, and I sent CJ a funny little text or tweet about that it's some people probably think it's in poor taste, but when Randy Johnson threw the pitch and killed the dove coming across the plate, yeah, that was crazy. I mean, I don't know I've been going to Gulfstream for 25 years. I've never seen a flamingo on the property.
Yeah, that was. I'm watching the race, and all of a sudden I saw the pink thing go flying. What was that? Because the horses all a few of them up front, and I thought to myself, you would think that they would have some kind of so nothing like that happens, because I mean, if that lead horse trips over either one of those birds, that's going to create a huge mess. So I would figure they have some kind of sonar or something that would keep them away.
You know, I've always said this. I was So like 30 years ago, a friend of mine was, his name's Michael Pino. He's a trainer. He's Mario Pino's younger brother. And he was a member at my golf club where I was a golf pro. And on my days off, I started showing up and I started, walking horses, galloping, and I got to exercise riding a little bit. The respect I have for jockeys, people have no idea what it's like. And for nothing to have happened with the two birds that they basically ran over on the track and nothing happened. I mean, it's amazing. The athleticism and the strength of jockeys, with all the negativity that's happening in this sport, it should be applauded. They're unbelievable.
Yeah, that was something else. So you're here. You say you're a golf pro. Before we get out of here, a lot of folks where we live in Chicago, Tom and I, in Eastern Pennsylvania for Sean, where the weather's just starting to break. As we start to get ready to go out there and hack around the golf course, a good walk spoiled, as Mark Twain said. What's the number thing since everybody slices, what's the number one thing we can do not to slice?
Well, what happens when people get a driver in their hand or a 3-wood or a 3-iron, you always think about distance. So it makes you grip it harder and swing harder instead of thinking about accuracy. So if you take the same thought process that you have, like maybe with your favorite club, a 7-iron or a 9-iron, and grip it the same and have the same thought, you're going to hit it straighter. You're not going to slice it as much. And even though you think that because you're not swinging as hard, you're not going to hit it further, you're going to hit it further because you're going to start hitting it more in the sweet spot in the center of the club face. And so that way there's less spin. It's going to go straighter and further. So just grip it lighter and think accuracy.
So don't John Daly it, don't grip it and rip it. Just swing nice and easy.
I mean, unless you're as good as I am, no, don't.
Well, we'll leave it go with that because we can't go any better than as good as Eddie C has said. He's been a great guest. We appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. If not, everyone keep up with Eddie C on Twitter again at It's Me, Eddie C. You can see below where you want to keep up with us at Horse Race Today. If you like what you saw, please thumbs up on YouTube, thumbs up on Facebook, like us on all that kind of stuff. Get us to 1,000 Twitter followers because everybody can't wait to see Sean do a TikTok dance in Speedos with flaming chainsaws.
Oh, good God.
Yeah. We lost Eddie C already.
Appreciate the love, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Everybody have a great night.
Good night.